Hey, church family, thank you for joining us for today's Daily Connection video. We are beginning this week talking about the pitfalls of holding grudges and the issues that exist in that for us, and ultimately how those issues go much bigger than just the relationship that we have with someone that we're holding a grudge against, but they really have issues within our own hearts. And so we're going to be looking in 1 John chapter 1 this week, kind of seeing, really in this, especially today, looking at the character of God. And I think it's important for us to understand the character of God because it's that righteous character that we should be pursuing ourselves. So let's look here, 1 John chapter 1. I'm just going to look at verse 5 today. It says, "This is the message we have heard from him and declared to you. God is light. There is absolutely no darkness in him." Now, we see this comparing and contrast of light and dark here. And we see that all over Scripture. There are multiple times throughout Scripture that we see like righteousness and wickedness and wisdom and foolishness, blessings and ruin. And so this light and dark is really a contrast that we're seeing between good and evil, between truth and lies. And what John is trying to express to his readers is that God is light, and there's no darkness in him. He is nothing like the dark. He is all truth, and there's not a single bit within God that exists that is any evil or any wrong or any sin. And that really is it's an expression of his righteousness, that God is perfectly righteous. And not only is there no sin in him, but he can't even look upon sin, right? His desire, because of sin, is to pour his wrath out on sin because he is so far from darkness. He's so far from lies. He is so close to the truth. That is the very character of who God is. You and I should pursue that same character. We should pursue that character in the knowledge that we chase after, in our actions, in our words. We should also pursue that same character in our relationships with others. And sometimes those relationships can get rocky. Sometimes it's just the nature of being friends with people or being in a family or being married. Sometimes the nature of that is we get in arguments and we disagree. And as we disagree, we should pursue truth. We should pursue light. We should pursue that which is the character of God. Oftentimes we find ourselves in those circumstances, though, and we find ourselves kind of harboring bitterness and harboring anger. We can find ourselves slipping into having a grudge against someone. And when we find ourselves in that, as this book talks about, the pitfall of having a grudge, man, we are in darkness, right? We are not pursuing truth. We're not pursuing light, but instead we are pursuing our own sinful nature, our own desires, not being willing to make right what is wrong. And we are always to make right what is wrong. That should always be our goal. And what John is showing, hey, if this is the character of God, then this should also be the character that we chase after. To chase after light, to chase after what is right. And so our author gives a couple of questions we can look at. The first one, how would you describe light versus dark from a biblical perspective? How would you describe those things from a biblical perspective? We talked about how light is what is right, it is true. Darkness is lies. If we know those two things, are there passages of Scripture that talk about those two things? Truth versus lies, light versus dark. How would you describe that from a biblical perspective? And the second question, what does it mean for us that there is no darkness in God? I'll tell you, that is that sentence there, which is a reminder of what is here in this passage, brings me great joy to know that I can trust my Lord because there's no darkness in him. He is perfectly righteous, and he will always do what is best for me, what is good for me, and brings him the most glory. Church family, I hope that you'll work through these questions. I hope that you will have a good perspective of God's character, and you will pursue light and pursue God's character. As you do that, we want you to know that we love you, and we're praying for you.